This is a Fox News alert. Joe Biden finally responding to mounting allegations of inappropriately touching women. 4 are now speaking out about the former VP's behavior, with 2 more coming forward last night. Biden addressing the allegations earlier.
I've always tried to make a human connection. That's my responsibility, I think. I shake hands, I hug people, I grab men and women by the shoulders and say, you can do this. And whether they're women, men, young, old, it's the way I've always been. It's the way I've tried to show I care about them and I'm listening. You know, social norms have begun to change, they've shifted, and the boundaries of protecting personal space have been reset. And I get it. But I will be more mindful and respectful of people's personal space. The idea that I can't adjust to the fact that personal space is important, more important than it's ever been, is just not thinkable. I will.
All right, let's go to the Democrat at the table here, Mr. Williams.
Oh, boy.
Not the smoothest rollout for Mr. Biden. You've had the indecision, the apology tour, and now the women. How do you think he's doing so far?
Well, I think he should do an interview. I think the paper statement and now the video just strike me as insufficient and not up to the moment. And I think Dana's made the point that he doesn't have a campaign. So he doesn't have a campaign apparatus, a communications shop, a spokesman who could be helping him here. I know that he does have staff. I mean, there's no question about that. But for me, I would like to just see Joe Biden come out and speak to it and not engage in what looks like hiding behind the camera because he's just doing a video and throwing the video out there. You know, to me, the difficulty for Joe Biden is that it opens the door to the Anita Hill question, how he handled Anita Hill. It opens the door to conversations about criminal justice reform that makes him out to be a guy who's just out of touch with the times. And I think that's coming from the left wing of the Democratic Party. But I don't think it's disqualifying, which is what Nancy Pelosi, the speaker, said. It's not disqualifying. But at this point, you know, you just feel for Joe. I don't think President Trump's comments in which he said, welcome to the, you know, how do you like your life now, Joe? Because I think Trump wants to, and some Republicans, unfortunately, are joining him in this, make this out like this is what happened to President Trump. President Trump grabbing women is assault. What Joe Biden did is just, at best, inappropriate. It had nothing to do with sex.
Well, we have that sound from the president, so let's listen, and then Kennedy can react.
Very good.
The only non-sort of heavy socialist, he's being taken care of pretty well by the socialists they got to him. Our former vice president, I was going to call him, I don't know him well, I was going to say, welcome to the world, Joe. You having a good time, Joe?
I think he's saying it's pretty rough out there.
Yes, and especially now in this political landscape, very different than when Joe Biden might have run for president in, I don't know, 1988. It's interesting because it is so dirty, but this is also a known quantity, and the president is absolutely right. It's just interesting that some of Joe's foes are playing the touching card this early, to, you know, obviously trying to keep him out so he can't land those big money donors early on, because he is at the head of the pack right now. He is the biggest threat, not only to the other people in the race, but to the progressive people in the race and what they stand for and what they are willing to do to dismantle the establishment end of the Democrat Party.
All right, so Dana, Juan did not think the video was sufficient. What did you think about the video statement?
Well, the fact that it's Wednesday and we've been doing this story as our lead story since Monday would tell you that they've probably not handled it well in terms of getting over it. But there's been no other like big news that has come out. The big news that people that support Joe Biden are waiting for, or even people waiting to run against him, is his big announcement. So I think the video thing today, maybe that helps put it to bed a little bit. But see, I also absolutely think this is calculated and coordinated, because what's the headline this morning? 2 more women came out, and then tomorrow will be 2 more. Right? This is what they did to President Trump, and I can see why he was like, well, you know, how you like it now?
Right.
But this is the other thing. What we talk about when we say people liked President Trump? Why? He's authentic. Okay. Joe Biden is now basically being told you cannot be your authentic self and run as Joe Biden. And they're trying to turn him into a straight arm, or what is a stiff arm robot. And
pretend like I have a cold.
yeah, that's just not who he is. And his polling has held up pretty well, even though he doesn't have a campaign. Across the board, he's always the #1 Democrat that Democrats being asked, like, who do you want to run and who do you think could beat President Trump? It's always Joe Biden. Maybe there's other reasons for that, name ID or et cetera, but he hasn't taken that many whacks. We'll see what else this has done. But it seems to me that the Democrats are just desperate to get him out.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't count him out. I think that he can overcome it.
I think so, too. And for some perspective, he's met probably 1 million people in the last 10 years. 4 women said they felt uncomfortable. This was not sexual assault, just Nuzzlegate.
Nuzzlegate. Permission to do a corny joke?
Oh, sure. Yes, absolutely.
Why did these women wait so long to come out?
Why?
Maybe they were biding their time. Anyway. It was,
very good. Very good.
You know, this story, it shouldn't be a 2-idea prison. I always say that. You can state that he shouldn't be doing this sort of thing, but the Democrats shouldn't be trying to destroy him either, simply because he's in the way. They're willing to destroy kind of a lasting memory of who this person is because they just don't want this old white guy around anymore, and they're willing to push him aside. When he was out, this was all known. Didn't matter now. Now it matters now. So for me, he shouldn't be doing it. But it would be nice for this attack not to work because, to your point, it's definitely being run by a pro. This drip, 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 who's next? It's got that media matters feel to it, where it might be a conjoined orchestration between like the Sanders group and Media Matters, because it's such a calculated takeout. And it's a point where, like, both parties could unite and say, do you think maybe it's time to stop this crap, that we're just basically ruining people's lives over politics? Meanwhile, you look over at Virginia, you still have, we still didn't know who was in blackface. The governor's still there. There's some sexual assault claims there that are pretty disturbing. Where are the Democratic priorities on that? So it's definitely politically calculated, motivated, and maybe it'd be nice.
But, it's not, you said older white male, and the Democrats don't want it. The suspicion to your
Sanders
is Bernie Sanders. He's an older white male.
Well,
and he just raised a record amount of money.
Yeah, they think it could be.
And to Dana's point, Dana, the Democrat, it's not all Democrats who are opposed to Joe Biden. As you point out, he's I think, close to 30% in terms of people. Yeah. So it's not Democrats. We're talking about potentially either his opponents who are trying to preempt his announcement, or secondly, that you have people who say, you know what, there is a real issue with how men treat women, and guess what, I'm sensitive to it, and it's not saying,
just happened now.
We don't like Joe Biden. It's just like, you know what?
Those two things can be true at the same time.
All right.
And that's what makes...
But we know that's false because it's happening now.
This political cycle...
now.
It is happening now. It's happening now because people are using it for their political advantage.
Yes.
But it's also, to your point, people have known about this for a long time. These memes, these pictures, these montages have existed forever. And, in Joe Biden's defense, what if your greatest political strength on the turn of a dime became your ultimate weakness?
Yeah.
What would you do? How do you adapt to that kind of political climate if the thing that you've always been known for, the thing that you've always been best at, is now something that defines you as a horrible person?
That's why I'm saying that they're trying to basically dehumanize him.
Yes.
And they're going to be showing videotape of Biden at these diners and these rallies, and how's he going to handle it? Is he going to hug?
Handle it.
I think he should. You know what? This
He's
is what
a
I would
hands-on
say.
leader.
I think you should just be your best self. And just...
you don't want me to be my best self.
Have I ever seen that?
Yeah, no.
Oh,
No
I
one
can't
has.
wait for that.